Welcome to POSTCAST tonight. David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Utah Jazz fall to the Miami Heat in a really high effort, pretty good performance by the Jazz when you consider Derek Favors went out of the game with a sprained ankle. The Jazz have not been able to play effectively without Derek. Tonight they did battle back. Rudy Gobert got some major minutes and major time, did some neat things, but what we'll be talking about for a while is the Joe Ingles inbound pass that never happens.
Right.
The Jazz call their final timeout. Dwayne Wade has missed a free throw. They're within 3 with a chance to pull off a stunner and force this game to overtime, and they are unable to execute. Well, I don't know how to phrase it. After rewatching it a bunch of times, maybe Miami just played incredible defense and prevented the Jazz from getting the ball in bounds.
Well, the way they mucked it up, and again, we use that phrase because that's the phrase that Coach Snyder uses quite a bit, but they really mucked it up. I mean, they crammed things to the point where the Jazz could not run their routes very well or even free themselves up. And in the meantime, Ingles is waiting, he's waiting, and Coach Snyder trusts him with the basketball and taking it out of bounds. And man, he just mucked it up. And you have to give Spoelstra a lot of credit. I mean, he's a very good coach.
They did some interesting things. The way they mucked it up is if I'm running my route and I'm trying to go the ball, they jumped front side of every single guy.
Yes.
So that every single one of our guys had to run through one of their guys. Well, that means you have to either alter your route, which means if you're trying to get to a pick, you probably don't get it. And they also kind of receded with the guy running at them. Mm-hmm. And in a normal circumstance, you say, well, what do you do? If somebody does that to you, you go backdoor on them.
Yeah.
But down 3 with 4 seconds left and no timeouts left, backdoor is not an option, and that's what Eric Spoelstra knew, and that's what it's a well-executed, well-done play by a head coach and his players, and when you look at who the players were that were key in that play, they were Chris Bosh, Luol Deng, and Dwayne Wade. Those guys have a lot of experience and a lot of key moments.
Yeah, it wasn't like you needed a 2-point.
Right.
You needed 3 points, and they knew how to take that away, and a lot of teams just switch all over the floor. I would imagine they would have been switching all over the floor if the Jazz would have been able to get it in bounds. But what the first thing that they wanted to do was keep the Jazz from getting it in bounds and just messing up the play, making the Jazz have to alter or rethink on how or what kind of shot they were going to get. Nicely done. Jazz effort, I thought, was superb. They played it another great third quarter, put themselves back in the basketball game, gave themselves a chance to win. But, it was Hall of Famer, Dwayne Wade. I mean, he really came alive there late in that fourth quarter and got the job done.
It's incredible how many of these games are following the exact same script.
Yeah.
We're not a very good first-half team. We're down 15 at the half. We're the number 1 third-quarter team in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you're in an exciting, fun basketball game to close it out. It's really bizarre or predictable. I don't know. Maybe it's not bizarre. It's the exact same thing every night.
If anything, David, if you want to take away something from this, and obviously you don't want to be in this position all the time, but the experience they're getting, because the number of close games that they have, what did you say? We're now 3 and
4 in games decided by 5 or less.
Games decided by 5 or 3 points or less, and you're getting some experience there. We've had a couple of buzzer beaters where they won. But you learn something here. And Coach Snyder talks about reading the defense. He talks about reading the offense and being able to change things and on the fly, make those adjustments. And that's how you end up a team like Miami, where you have so much experience and guys that play together and can actually get the job done.
Miami does something interesting. They trap every pick and roll. If you're a guard and you're coming off the pick and roll, they double team it. Yes. And that completely took Trey Burke out of the game. His lack of height caused him problems. He got around it once and made a nice play once on it where he hit Derek Favors, but he wasn't able to replicate that on numerous times. And Gordon Hayward never seemed to get a rhythm because Gordon ends with a remarkably decent line for a night in which I felt like he wasn't particularly sharp. 18 and 8 is hard to complain about on 6 of 13 shooting, but it didn't feel like he was an impactful player tonight.
But, David, they have the players to do that. The Jazz can't do that. Cantor can't extend himself out too far. I mean, he can get out there and slow him up, but he's not quick enough in case you have to switch. You notice how often they trap too, especially when they would get you deep in the corner. They would corral you down there and they try to keep you from coming back over the top and force you to throw that pass over the top, and in which they had a lot of deflections as the Jazz players was trying to throw that pass over the top. Just wasn't. I don't know that the first quarter, the first half, And again, maybe Derek Favors hurt them by not being there. It's a little bit more than we thought.
First half, Jazz had no fast break points. They had no steals. They were down 15. Second half, the Jazz put a little force out there. They get 4 steals. They end up with 9 fast break points. If you had 18 for a night, that would be fabulous. So they finally get something going in that regard. This offense has got to start finding a way to play some early offensive opportunities along the way. Let's talk about Rudy Gobert. He plays 26 minutes tonight, 9 points, 11 rebounds. Maybe the number that jumps out more than anything else, 4 assists, but he also has 5 block shots. I mean, that's just a big-time performance. And I'm not a doctor, but if Derek didn't ever try to come back, I'm guessing it's not an ankle sprain. That means, I mean, my guess is, and I don't know this clearly. Let me say this. I don't know this, but natural guess is if he had an ankle sprain that was bad enough that he didn't even try to come back out, it's probably a game or two. He's going to be a starting center for the Utah Jazz possibly for a game or two of this road trip.
Yeah, I was looking at the 25 minutes. Not really sure if that's a season high there for
I think in one of the blowouts he might have played more.
24 minutes. That is a new season high for him as far as minutes is concerned. So, but he needs all the experience he can get. Like this, would love to see him have a little bit more of an offensive game. That way he can make the opponents change their defense and their strategy on how to defend the Utah Jazz. But right now, his impact is definitely on the defensive side of the ball.
What was your feeling on Enes Kanter's 25.8 rebound night tonight?
Very impressed with, and he seems to get better and better. And you know, I've been satisfied with him all season long. I mean, sure enough, he makes mistakes out there, but you have to realize, you know, he's only been playing basketball 6-7 years, and he's come a long ways. But I've been impressed with him all season long. The jump from last year to this year, I think, is impressive. But he still has, you know, a long way to go.
It's a big jump.
Mostly on the defensive side of the ball.
It's a big jump. I mean, it's a big jump to go from a bench guy to a starter. Gobert's making an enormous jump from non-rotation to rotation, but Kanter's making equally maybe a bigger jump. 30 minutes every night against a marquee guy.
Yeah, but David, I've always thought that, you know, it's a big jump, but minutes will help a guy improve quite a bit. You can get all the practice time you want, and coaches will tell you, you know, practice is so important, but game type situations is important as well. And I think that's what's really helping Kanter. I think he's come a long ways, and I've been satisfying with him all season long.
Coaches are very pleased with him, particularly over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Let's get a question from Ryan Dangerfield. Is it possible that we could see Rudy and Kanter play more minutes together in the future without Favors on the floor? They seem to have a very nice night playing together.
They're not as mobile with those guys out there on the floor, but if you look at this lineup, out of necessity, they're probably going to have to spend a little bit more time on the floor than what the coach would like for him to do.
Kanter and Favors have not proven that they can defend very well when they play together against frontline guys.
No, it's something that the coaching staff going to have to deal with. It's something that they knew coming in, but they had to see exactly, you know, at what how much limited time they could play together and still survive a basketball game. You know, are we experimenting? Probably.
I mean, I think one of the big storylines that's going to develop out of this is how far can Rudy Gobert go?
Yeah.
Because if they scored 38 points in the second half, if the key to this franchise's defense is going to be that Rudy Gobert can play, then who can play with him?
Yeah.
And that's going to become a big storyline. If Rudy Gobert is going to suddenly be a 30-minute a night guy, then who can play with him for those 30 minutes?
Well, he's working very, very hard to become that. I mean, he wants to be out there on the floor. He wants to play. And you and I at practice, we watch and listen to the mistakes he makes and how they're corrected. If he's going to be that 30-minute guy, stamina is going to be very important for him, and strength is going to be very important for him.
Let me clarify this. That's not tomorrow. That's not tomorrow he's going to become a 30-minute guy.
No.
Probably 2 or 3 years
you better
from now.
clarify that, right.
Still a lot of mistakes going on, a lot of work training, a lot of strength conditioning that has to happen for him to be a successful 30-minute a night guy. And also, you know, probably 2 or 3 years, the jump, then he's got to make that jump, right? Play marquee guys. I mean, tonight he did not get a huge amount on Bosch.
Yeah.
Some, but not a huge. And Justin Hamilton's not quite as good as Chris Bosch.
Yeah.
Nice night for the Lone Peak guy. Miami wins it tonight. Have a good night. Be safe. We'll talk to you from Washington on Sunday.